Welcome back, dear friends, to another exciting episode of the Dispensation of Bahá'u'lláh. We are on part 11, part 1, covering paragraphs 28 and 29 of the Dispensation of Bahá'u'lláh. And without any further ado, we're going to have our opening prayer. Thank you so much.
All glory be to this day, the day in which the fragrance of mercy have been wafted over all created things, a day so blessed that the past ages and the centuries can never hope to rival it, a day in which the countenance of the Ancient of Days has turned towards his holy seat. Thereupon the voice of all created things, and beyond them those of the conquerors on high, were heard calling aloud, Haste thee, O Carmel, for Lord, the light of the countenance of God, the ruler of the kingdom of names and fashioner of the heavens, has been lifted up. Seized with the transport of joy, and raising high her voice, she thus exclaimed, May my life be a sacrifice to thee, inasmuch as thou hast fixed thy gaze upon me, hast bestowed upon me thy bounty, and hast directed towards me thy steps' separation from thee, O thou source of everlasting life, has well high consumed me, and my remoteness from thy presence has burned away my soul. Oh, all praise be to thee for having enabled me to hearken to thy call, for having honored me with thy footsteps, and for having quickened my soul through the vitalizing fragrance of thy day, and the thrilling voice of thy pen, a voice thou didst ordain, as thou trumpet called amidst thy people. And when when the hour at which thy restless face was to be made manifest did strike, thou did brace the brace of thy spirit into thy pen. And Lord, the entire creation shook to this very foundation, unveiling to mankind such mysteries as lay hidden within the treasuries of him who is the possessor of all created things. No sooner had her voice reached that most exalted spot than when we made reply, Render thanks unto thy Lord, O Carmel. The fire of thy separation from me was fast consuming thee, when the ocean of my presence surged before thy face, cheering thine eyes and those of all creation, and filling with the delight of all things, visible and invisible. Rejoice, for God has in this day established upon thee. His throne has made thee the downing place of his sons, and the dayspring of this evidence of his revelation. Well is it with him circled around thee, that proclaims the revelation of thy glory, and recounts that which the bounty of the Lord thy God had showered upon thee. See thou the chalice of immortality in the name of thy Lord, the all-glorious, and give thanks unto him, inasmuch as he, in token of his mercy unto thee, has turned thy sorrow into gladness, and transmuted thy grief into blissful joy. He verily loves the spot which has been made the seat of his throne, which his foots have trodden with, which has been honored by his presence, from which he raised his call, and upon which he shed his tears. Call out Zion, O Carmel, and announce the joyful tidings. He that was hidden from mortal eyes is come. His all-conquering sovereignty is manifest. His all-encompassing splendors is revealed. Beware lest that hesitate to halt. Hasten forth the circumambulate, the city of God that has descended from heaven, the celestial Kaaba, round with which circled in adoration the favored of God, the pure in heart, and the company of the most exalted angels. Oh, how I long to announce unto every spot on the surface of the earth, and to carry to each one of its cities the glad tidings of this revelation, a revelation to which the heart of the Sinai has been attracted, in whose name the burning bush is calling unto God, the Lord of Lords, belong the kingdoms of earth and heaven. Verily, this is the day in which both land and sea rejoice at this announcement, the day for which have been laid up those things which God, through a bounty beyond the ken of mortal mind or heart, has destined for revelation. Ere long will God sail his ark upon thee, and will manifest the people of Baha, who have been mentioned in the book of names. Sanctified be the Lord of all mankind, at the mention of whose name all the atoms of the earth have been made to vibrate, and the tongue of grandeur has been moved to disclose that which had been wrapped in his knowledge and lay concealed within the treasury of his might. He verily, through the potency of his name, the mighty, the all-powerful, the most high, is the ruler of all that is in the heavens and all that is on earth. Howla. Sorry for me to bring this long one just for revision. That's what I bring it.
No, thank you very much, dear Tesfaye. This is the tablet of Carmel that you recited, and it is such an incredible and wonderful tablet. And in our studies, as we've been studying the dispensation of Bahá'u'lláh, it has been quoted many times. And so, thank you so much, dear Tesfaye, for
I like
bringing it back to us, especially all hearing it again, and the prophecies, as well as to hear it, just to recite it, and encourage everyone to read it and reread it, and bring it to your forefront of your thinking. So, dear friends, let's get back into it. So wonderful to see you and be with you in your presence. So we're going to get into our paragraph 28 to 29. Okay, this is where we are. Let me full screen it. Okay, so if you're like, Ehsan, where are we? So if you have your World Order of Baha'u'lláh, we are on page 109. Page 109, it's paragraph 28 starts, anticipating the system, okay? That's where we are, anticipating the system, which the irresistible power of his law, okay? That's where we are, so exactly. So the themes, we covered this, if you watched our recording several weeks ago, we covered this, as well as we read the two paragraphs of 28 and 29 in our recording. But since that was several weeks ago, to bring it all back, we're going to redo it and refresh, and then really get into the session today. And if we have time, we'll even get into the next part, okay? So again, dear friends, these are the major themes that we're going to be covering. The major themes from this part is the New World Order, as well as the unassailable foundations and the Surah of the temple. This is the Surah Haykal, the divinity of the manifestations of God, as well as a new race of men. And this is an incredible topic that actually enters into many of the writings of Baha'u'lláh, Abdullah, the beloved guardian, as this is at the very heart and center of what the faith is trying to do, to working towards, to bring about a new race of men. Okay, so this is the themes of these paragraphs. So let us get into it. So our first reader is going to be our dear Miss Marianne. If you could kindly read paragraph 28 for us.
All right. Anticipating the system which the irresistible power of his law was destined to unfold in a later age, he writes, the world's equilibrium has been upset through the vibrating influence of this most great, this new world order. Mankind's ordered life has been revolutionized through the agency of this unique, this wondrous system, the like of which mortal eyes have never witnessed. The hand of omnipotence has established his revelation upon an unassailable and enduring foundation. Storms of human strife are powerless to undermine its basis, nor will men's fanciful theories succeed in damaging its structure.
Excellently read, Miss Marianne. Thank you so much. Okay, and let's go to the long paragraph, paragraph 29. Okay, and dear Miss Darla, if you could read this longer paragraph, this paragraph 29, if you could.
Paragraph 29. In the Seratul Hayakal, one of the most challenging works of Baha'u'lláh, the following verses, each of which testifies to the resistless power infused in the revelation proclaimed by its author, have been recorded. Not is seen in my temple, but the temple of God, and in my beauty, but his beauty, and in my being, but his being, and in myself, but his self, and in my movement, but his movement, and in my acquiescence, but his acquiescence, and in my pen, his pen, the mighty, the all-praised. There hath not been in my soul but the truth, and in myself not could be seen but God. The Holy Spirit itself hath been generated through the agency of a single letter, revealed by this most great Spirit, if you be of them that comprehend. Within the treasury of our wisdom there lies unrevealed a knowledge, one word of which, if we choose to divulge it to mankind, would cause every human being to recognize the manifestation of God and to acknowledge his omniscience, would enable everyone to discover the secrets of all the sciences and to attain so high a station as to find himself wholly independent of all past and future learning. Other knowledges we do as well possess, not a single letter of which can we disclose, nor do we find humanity able to hear even the barest reference to their meaning. Thus have we informed you of the knowledge of God, the all-knowing, the all-wise. The day is approaching when God will have, by an act of his will, raised up a race of men, the nature of which is inscrutable to all save God, the all-powerful, the self-subsisting. He will ere long out of the bosom of power draw forth the hands of ascendancy and might, hands who will arise to win victory for this youth and who will purge mankind from defilement of the outcast and the ungodly. These hands will gird up their loins to champion the faith of God and will, in my name, the self-subsistent, the mighty, subdue the peoples and kindreds of the earth. They will enter the cities and will inspire with fear in the hearts with fear the hearts of all their inhabitants. Such are the evidences of the might of God. How fearful, how vehement is his might.
Beautifully read, Miss Darla. Thank you so much. So there we are. This is the two paragraphs under study, paragraph 28, as well as paragraph 29. Okay, so paragraph 28, anticipating this system, which the irresistible power of his law was destined to unfold in a later age. And we hear now the words of Baha'u'lláh, the world's equilibrium have been upset through the vibrating influence of this most great, this new world order. Mankind's ordered life have been revolutionized through the agency of this unique, this wondrous system, the like of which mortal eyes have never witnessed. It's an incredible system, this new world order. It's revolutionizing the whole world. If you scroll back to 1844, the world is a completely different world than that in every single way, and everything has changed. The hand of omnipotence hath established his revelation upon an unassailable and enduring foundation. Storms of human strife are powerless to undermine its basis, nor will men's fanciful theories succeed in damaging its structure. So in this one paragraph, paragraph 28, stating the irresistible power of his law, talking about this system, how it is completely revolutionizing the whole world. And this system has been brought about by twin manifestations of God, this new system, right? And this vibrating influence is completely upsetting, the order of mankind and creating this new world order. And then Baha'u'lláh states, the hand of omnipotence, omni, all potent, powerful. Hand of omnipotence hath established his revelation upon an unassailable, cannot be attacked, unassailable and enduring foundation, cannot be assaulted. And so the enduring foundation, storms of human strife are powerless to undermine its basis. It has a solid foundation. And what is this solid foundation? It begins with a C. Anyone guess what the word is? Unmute yourselves if you know what the word is. I give you the hint. Abdul-Baha is center of the
covenant.
There you go. Beautiful. So this is the unassailable foundation, is the covenant. This is the covenant that has been brought by Baha'u'lláh, the unassailable foundation, an enduring foundation that storms of human strife are powerless to undermine its basis, nor will men's fanciful theories succeed in damaging its structure. This is the power of the covenant. Okay, paragraph 28, there you go. Now, moving to paragraph 29. In the Surah Al-Haykal, one of the most challenging works of Baha'u'lláh, and I encourage every one of you to read this. This is it also has been translated, right? And so the following verses, each of which testifies to the resistless power infused into the revelation proclaimed by its author, have been recorded. So this is the translation of the beloved guardian here. So it says, not is seen in my temple, but the temple of God, and in my beauty, but his beauty, and in my being, but his being, and in myself, but his self, and in my movement, but his movement, and in my acquiescence, but his acquiescence, and in my pen, but his pen, the mighty the all-praised. There hath not been in my soul but the truth, and in myself naught could be seen but God. The Holy Spirit itself hath been generated through the agency of a single letter revealed by this most great Spirit, if ye be of them that comprehend. And I'll pause right there. So this is really where there's a word in Arabic called fana. It means it's the erasure of self. You know, is to eliminate the self, and so where you are, where the self, the ego, often is per se coming in between you and your Lord. And so this is where now you are per se eradicating the self and making sure that when it says, and in myself, it will be his self. So your will is his will is your will. Whatever his will is it is now your will. So your will is now what his will. Whatever is Baha'u'llah's will is now your will. It is the complete per se erasure of the self and desire of the individual, but where the self and desire of the individual is now completely changing and transforming to be whatever is his will. You see what I'm saying? So this is, and then it says, within the treasury of our wisdom, there lies unrevealed a knowledge, one word of which, if we choose to divulge it to mankind, would cause every human being to recognize the manifestation of God and to acknowledge his omniscience. Omniscience means all wisdom, all knowledge. Omniscience would enable everyone to discover the secrets of all the sciences and to attain so high a station as to find himself wholly independent of all past and future learning. So just one word. So here Baha'u'llah is saying, I have it within my power. In one word, I can bring all humanity to recognize the manifestation of God. Why does he not do this? Because free will. We have free will. He doesn't want humanity to be robots and suddenly just open his mouth and everyone accept him, because he has given humanity free will. And so this is the reason. Okay, but he's proclaiming he has that power. He's saying, I have it within my grasp. Other knowledges we do as well possess, not a single letter of which we can disclose, nor do we find humanity able to hear even the barest reference to their meaning. Thus have we informed you of the knowledge of God, the all-knowing, the all-wise. Then Baha'u'llah states, the day is approaching, when God will have, by an act of his will, raised up a race of men, the nature of which is inscrutable to all save God, the all-powerful, the self-subsisting. So Baha'u'llah himself will raise up a race of men, the nature of which is inscrutable to all save God, the all-powerful, the all-subsisting. He will, ere long, out of the bosom of power, draw forth the hands of ascendancy and might. This is so cool. I love this. So this is who he is raising up, hands of ascendancy and might. And what are hands, right? Hands are things that do things for the body, right? Mm-hmm. And so we have an interesting station in this in the cause called Hands of the Cause of God, Hands of the Cause of God, right? And they were literally the ones that had been appointed by His Holiness Baha'u'llah, His Holiness Abdul Baha, as well as the beloved guardian. And there are no more hands of the cause, okay? That appointment period has ended, okay? Now, when we get to that section, because that is also mentioned in Dispensation of Bahá'u'lláh, the hand, as this is part of the administration, where there is an interesting extract on hand. What is a hand? And so there's a quote on what is a hand. And I'm not talking about the appointed role, because there's no more appointing roles of the hands. But there's also the per se, what does a hand do? It's not just, and the role of the hand in the sense of sacrifice, teaching, going above and beyond. And there's a quote, and I'm obviously paraphrasing, but the hands, what they did was they gave their all, they sacrificed. They were always in the field of teaching, right? And so this is what here it says, hands who will arise to win victory for this youth. And who is this youth? Baha'u'lláh, title here. So hands who will arise to win victory for this youth, and who will purge mankind from the defilement of the outcast and the ungodly. These hands will gird up their loins. There it is in that quote again, if you recall from Advent days. Gird up their loins. So this is a very famous type of imagery where back in the day during war, before they would enter the battle, the men would literally have to tie up their loincloths before they entered into the war, so that their loincloths wouldn't flap back and forth and hit their precious areas. So they would actually tie up their loincloths, and then they would rush into the battle. So he says these hands will gird up their loins, means get really serious and be very serious, and then to champion the faith of God, and will in my name, whose name? Baha'u'lláh, the self-subsistent, the mighty, subdue the peoples and kindreds of the earth. They will enter the cities and will inspire with fear the hearts of all their inhabitants. Such are the evidences of the might of God. How fearful, how vehement is his might. So there we are, dear friends. That is paragraph 29. So let's go through it, okay? And if you have any questions, as always, feel free, okay? So this is the introductory paragraph that I always include. It says, in this section, in these statements cited by the beloved guardian, they further demonstrate this potency of the revelation of Baha'u'lláh. Paragraph 28 highlights the significance and the influence and the power of the world order of Baha'u'lláh. And all the statements in paragraph 29 are cited from the Surah al-Haykal, the Surah of the Temple, one of the most challenging tablets of Baha'u'lláh, revealed during his exile in Adrianople. And in this tablet, Baha'u'lláh addresses the temple, the Haykal, and unveils his glory and his majesty. And in one of his writings, Baha'u'lláh states that the Haykal mentioned in his tablet is the person of Baha'u'lláh, and the voice addressing the Haykal is his voice. So it's the voice, meaning that most great spirit talking to himself. You see what I'm saying? So this is the Surah of the Temple. All right, moving on. Let's get into some of these really interesting subjects. So the world's equilibrium has been upset through the influence of this new world order revealed by Baha'u'lláh. And the foundations of the revelation of Baha'u'lláh is so strong that human strife and men's fanciful theories have no effect on it. The Surah al-Haykal, the Surah of the Temple, is one of the most challenging tablets of Baha'u'lláh, and it was revealed during his exile in Adrianople. The Holy Spirit is generated through a single letter revealed by Baha'u'lláh. The divinity referred to by Baha'u'lláh in his writings represents only the incarnation of names and attributes of God in the temple of the manifestation of God, not his reality. So we're not talking about the incarnation of God. God becomes flesh, okay? This is talking about just an attribute as a manifestation of God, okay? Baha'u'llah promises that through his revelation, God will create a new race of men. And I just want to highlight a point here. When we say race, we're not talking about, white, black, red, tan, okay? Because some people think, I have to always say these things because some people think, oh my God, now the Baha'is, they were going to create another race, another division. I thought they were, when we were studying Advent of Divine Justice, that we know that we were talking about, there is no race. And now we're talking about a new race? What is this about? No, we're not talking about that. When we talk about new race of men, we're talking about incomparable in character. This is what we're talking about in the sense of the inner life of humanity being a new race of man. So if that is the true standard, okay, that we're addressing, that this is because race here, we're talking about per se, if we as Baha'is are a subgroup, and this, as Baha'is, we are a group, and this group would be a new race of man of incomparable character to the rest of humanity. This is what Baha'u'llah wants to raise. Okay, let us get into it. Now, this is an extract that I've pulled here. This is from the Blessed Bab, and it's cited by the beloved guardian, God Passes By. And I pulled it because now we're getting into the study of this new world order. So I'm going to ask our dear friend, Tesfaya. Dear Tesfaya, could you read this slide for us? Oh, you just muted yourself. Go for it. There.
All right, so let me see. Sorry, I'm doing something over here. That's why I come down over here in the kitchen.
No worries at all.
Right, okay. So this is a paragraph that I'm going to read, the New World Order.
Yes, exactly. Please go ahead.
All right. In paragraph 28, Baha'u'llah alludes to influence of the New World Order unveiled through his revelation on the world's equilibrium. Shoghi Effendi has identified the order referred to by Baha'u'llah in this statement as the same order mentioned by the Bab 25 years earlier in the Persian Bayan. Well is it with him who fixed his gaze upon the order of Baha'u'llah and renders thanks unto his Lord, for he will assuredly be made manifest. God has indeed irrevocably ordained it in the Bayan.
Thank you, dear Tesfaya. Isn't that awesome? The Blessed Bab in the Bayan, actually by name said Baha'u'llah. Okay, here it is. It says 25 years earlier in the Persian Bayan. This is the beloved guardian right here. He says, well is it with him who fixeth his gaze upon the order of Baha'u'llah. So there's no question for the Babis not turning to Baha'u'llah. That's why a vast majority of all the Babis turn to Baha'u'llah, because it's right there in the Persian Bayan. Well is it with him who fixeth his gaze upon the order of Baha'u'llah and rendereth thanks unto his Lord, for he will assuredly be made manifest. God hath indeed irrevocably ordained it in the Bayan. So that was the beloved guardian, cited by the beloved guardian, and that was from the Persian Bayan, and you find that in God Passes By. And this is the extract. The world's equilibrium hath been upset through this vibrating influence of this most great, this new world order. And this is the quote that the beloved guardian is quoting in paragraph 28. Mankind's ordered life hath been revolutionized through the agency of this unique, this wondrous system, the like of which mortal eyes have never witnessed. It's
I have a
like,
question for you.
please, dear Tesfai, go ahead.
Yeah, regarding to this Persian Bayan,
Mhm.
you know that the body calendar in the 19-day feast, and a lot of things come from this Persian Bayan. So is that to be the more weighted than the Baha'u'llah's revelation? Because how Baha'u'llah has caught everything from there and then modified and then bring it to update, change some of the laws and everything, whatever is stated in the Bayan.
We have covered this in that sense, and it says one word. The blessed Bab even puts a whole confession. He says, not one word of my writings compares to the one who will come after me. He says, not even all my writings combined will compare to even one word of one who will come after me. So in the for he whom God shall make manifest, Baha'u'lláh. Baha'u'llah's revelation is truly incomparable to the revelation of the Blessed Bab. And this is something that is amazing, dear Tesfai. And it's nothing to ever put down the independent revelation of the Blessed Bab, whose revelation is also incredible in its own, okay? And so each one of these revelations are so truly amazing in scope and scale. But when you said one is greater than another, we as Baha'is, we don't compare really revelation to revelation, okay? They're each independent revelations, okay? And that reality is the beloved, the word, there's an extract that I had in a past session, and it was really the Blessed Bab himself compared his revelation to he whom God shall make manifest. It was he who did that. And it was his own confession that the words of Baha'u'lláh far exceed in potency and intensity than his own. And so this is the confession of the Blessed Bab on that sense. So but every dispensation, they're all part of the same book of God. And so really, as Baha'is, we love every single one of them, and we don't try to compare one against another, saying one is greater than another, one is lesser than another, one is better than another, or one we don't. It's not for us to do that. And I was quoting, actually not directly quoting, I was paraphrasing the words of the Blessed Bab there. So I hope that answered your question in this.
Oh yeah, I understand it. Yeah, but as many times when it's Persian Bayan, that's why I just asked.
But absolutely, because this is all part of our faith. The Bayan is part of our faith as a Baha'i, and so His Holiness Baha'u'lláh has taken several things from the blessed faith of the Bab, such as you mentioned, such as the calendar, the Badi calendar, such as as you mentioned also,
19-day feast.
The institution of the 19-day feast. And so these type of things have been brought about and are part of the Baha'i laws. But there's also many laws that have been abrogated. And so that the Blessed Bab instituted that have been abrogated. There was a time and place for it during the ministry of the Bab, and those laws have been nullified and abrogated. And so in the dispensation of Baha'u'lláh. So there is some that have carried on and some that have been abrogated. So you can look those up, and I can send it to the class for your edification on. That will be. It's also interesting to read, but we'll move on. Okay.
All right. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you so much. So the characteristics of the world order of Baha'u'lláh are described in the writings of Baha'u'lláh as well as Abdul Baha, as well as the letters of the beloved guardian Shaykh Effendi and the Universal House of Justice. Shaykh Effendi refers to the Kitab Aqdas as the charter of the world order of Baha'u'lláh. The Will and Testament of Abdul Baha is also designated by Shaykh Effendi as the charter of a future world civilization and supplementary to the Kitab Aqdas. So there are three key charter documents, okay? And I encourage every one of you to master each one of these. So the Tablet of Carmel that actually our dear Tesfai read at the beginning of class, the Tablet of Carmel. So this tablet, it was an incredible tablet of Baha'u'lláh that actually talks about the world-centered development and prophecies and this is Baha'u'lláh when he pointed to the ground and proclaimed that this is where the ark will come about, and so this is the seat of the administrative center of the Baha'i world. So this is the world-centered development and the creation of the Universal House of Justice. So Tablet of Carmel. Then another key document, the Charter of the Baha'i World Order Baha'u'lláh, is the Will and Testament of Abdul Baha. This in this key document, it talks about the creation of the National Spiritual Assemblies, the Charter of a New World Order. It appoints the beloved guardian to be the head of the faith as well as sole interpreter of its scriptures. And another one of these charter documents is the Tablets of the Divine Plan. And this not singular document, there were 14 letters. So this is also addressing the spiritual conquest of the planet. So these are three of the charter documents and also with the Kitab Aqdas, okay? So these documents are charter documents of our faith, as well as also the one we're studying right now, the Dispensation of Baha'u'lláh. So these are charter documents, dear friends. So according to the beloved guardian, the appointed and elected arms of the Baha'i faith are building the structural basis of this order during the formative age, which we're in right now, the formative age. It is the superstructure of that self-same order attaining its full stature through the emergence of the Baha'i world commonwealth, the kingdom of God on earth, which the golden age of that same dispensation must, in the fullness of time, ultimately witness. That was from the beloved guardian, Shaykh Effendi, and God passes by. And the essential elements of the constitution of the world order of Baha'u'lláh are enshrined in the two charters of the world order of Baha'u'lláh. One that we're studying right now, the Dispensation of Baha'u'lláh, which is the ark of human salvation, must be modeled according to the divinely ordained administrative principles revealed in the Kitab Aqdas, okay? Revealed in the Kitab Aqdas, and the other key charter document, the Will and Testament of Abdul Baha. So these are the two key charter documents of the world order of Baha'u'lláh. So now we're going to talk about in paragraph 28 when it says it's this new world order is built on unassailable foundations. So Baha'u'lláh is asserting that the foundation of his revelation is so strong that human strife and men's fanciful theories have no effect on it. And this is based upon the covenant, right? And we talked about that. Abdul Baha confirms this. Verily, this is coming from Abdul Baha and Tablets of Abdul Baha. This is what Abdul Baha states. He says, Abdul Baha confirms this. Miss Claudia, do you have a comment?
No.
Oh, okay. No worries. Okay, So Abdu'l-Baha confirms this. This is the words of Abdu'l-Baha. He says, verily God effecteth that which he pleaseth. Not can annul his covenant. Not can obstruct his favor, nor oppose his cause. He also states, everything is subject to corruption. And so everything gets corrupted. Everything gets destroyed. But what? But the covenant of the Lord shall continue to pervade all regions. So everything gets corrupted except but the covenant of the Lord. The covenant of the Lord shall continue to pervade all regions. This is the words of Abdu'l-Baha. And this is the inviolable, the incorruptible, the covenant of Baha'u'lláh, covenant of the manifestation. So this is the unassailable foundation that has been raised by the manifestation of God. Okay, a strong foundation. The beloved guardian states, the bedrock on which this administrative order is founded is God's immutable purpose for mankind in this day. And he also declares this priceless gem of divine revelation, now still in its embryonic state, shall evolve within the shell of his law and shall forge ahead, undivided and unimpaired, till it embraces the whole of mankind. So these institutions are still in their nascent stage, like seedlings, and some are in its sapling stage. You know, if you've ever done any gardening, you know that it takes time and love and, you know, to grow these little plants. And so he says, this priceless gem of this divine revelation is now still in its embryonic state. And it shall evolve within the shell of his law and shall forge ahead, undivided and unimpaired. So not all these forces that we've talked about from the greater world society shall not affect, shall not hamper, shall not destroy the foundation of this seedling, this new life that has emerged into this world. And this new life, this embryonic state, shall emerge victorious. And it shall forge ahead, undivided and unimpaired, till it embraces the whole of mankind. So this is the words of the beloved guardian here. And we find this also in the World Order of Baha'u'lláh. This one, the World Order of Baha'u'lláh, was in an earlier letter, not the dispensation. Riaz John, you have a hand. Bifarmoy, always.
Thank you. On the previous slide, number 11, there is mention of this, the reference, Baha'i scriptures. Could you explain this publication?
Absolutely, yes. So Baha'i Scriptures was an earlier publication, and there were many talks of Abdu'l-Baha as well as translations from Baha'u'lláh in it. And due to several of the translations not being of good quality, that publication is no longer being continued. In fact, I've gone through Baha'i scriptures as well, and it is also referenced in this actual course. One of the issues of why Baha'i scriptures is no longer continued is because in the early days of the translations, they didn't know who Abdu'l-Baha was. So they actually, some people in the West thought he was, Messiah. They thought he was manifestation of God. They had no idea. And so the translations, the people that translated it, attributed him to being a manifestation. And so the translations were inaccurate. And so what happened was it created confusion for the Baha'is in the West, especially in these translations. So it was a very early translation, 1919, around there, give or take, was Baha'i scriptures. So I just wanted you to know that generally I don't quote from Baha'i, source Baha'i scriptures, Riaz John, and generally I quote from, ones that are in publication that are commonly accessible. But this was an earlier translation.
Yes, thank you so much. Thank you. It's very good.
Yeah, excellent.
But this particular quotation, this 2-line quotation, can one retrieve this? Let's say
I'll look for it and I'll get it to the class. Okay.
Okay. All right. Very good.
Excellent. Okay, and let's now move on. Okay. So now we're talking about these unassailable foundations, okay? The organic and unsustained development and expansion of the faith of Baha'u'lláh so far, despite strong assaults from within and without, within the faith as well as outside of the Baha'i community, is clear evidence of its resilience as well as its firm foundation. And you really don't have to go very far, as they say, to see how resilient this faith has been, from all the obstacles that this faith has been put through, whether it was financial, whether it's been, removed from the land of its origin, whether it's, from persecution, whether it's, the history of the early American Baha'i community in the West, or, the Baha'i community in Europe due to persecutions under, the German Empire or whatever, or the Russians, what happened in Ishqabad, or, so you don't have to really look that far for, per se, the obstacles that the Baha'i community has had to undergo. And even then, there's also been obstacles from within the faith, and the attacks that have, per se, gone on to try to, as they say, upset, and create disunity. But this unassailable foundation that has been set by the hand of omnipotence, Baha'u'lláh has created this foundation, the covenant, that is unassailable. You cannot attack it. It's so strong. You can try to attack it, but you can't. You can't defeat it. And that's the incredible covenant that has been created there. And so this is the resilience and firm foundation and that has been put in place. Okay. Baha'u'lláh, His Holiness Baha'u'lláh, spent 40 years in prison and confinement under the most difficult conditions. He neither sought any assistance for the promotion of his cause, nor received any support from the kings and governments of his time. He submitted to the will of those hostile to him, but he did not compromise to any extent the principles he declared necessary for the establishment of his cause. During his lifetime, he fulfilled all the prophecies given in the previous holy books regarding his presence in the Holy Land, though he was apparently forced by his opponents into exile to that spot. This is truly one of the most miraculous of miraculous occurrences, how someone who was an exile, a prisoner, shows up into the land of Palestine and is the one that has been foretold by all the prophecies of the past. And it was not out of his will that he showed up. It was because he was a prisoner. And because he arrived and he has fulfilled all the prophecies given in those previous holy books. And this is, if you've ever gone on pilgrimage, you may have seen this window. And this is in the Templars, on the window, the top of a window of one of the Templars. This is in Haifa. It says the Templars built their homes at the foot of Mount Carmel. They have those beautiful red roofs. And you can see it when you look at a panorama of the city of Haifa, where they believed His Holiness Jesus would appear. And this is the inscription above a window on one of the houses. And it says in German, "The Lord is nigh." Isn't that incredible? Saying the Lord is nigh. I mean, the Lord is near. And of all the places they place that is literally on the pathway to the shrine of the Blessed Bob. The Lord is near. And they built that and engraved that in 1871. Baha'u'lláh stopped briefly in Haifa on his journey to Akka in 1868, and again on 3 occasions between 1883 and 1891. During one visit, he pitched his tent a short distance from this house. So he pitched his tent very close to this house. And that was up there on that, where he pitched his tent. That's when he pointed to the ground and, was declared and revealed the tablet of Carmel. And that is when, where that grove of trees at the back of the, per se, the shrine of the Blessed Bob is. And it was where he pitched his tent. All right. After Baha'u'llah's ascension, the evolution of the Baha'i faith continued, and it has transformed from a community of mainly Persian believers during his lifetime to the current diverse community of over 6 million believers spread all around the world, and consisting of many different backgrounds and ethnic groups. The infrastructure of the administrative order that he ordained in his writings is now well established and is evolving towards its maturity. At present, the same dynamics govern the expansion and development of the Baha'i faith. This is happening through the love and sacrifice of his followers, who are influenced by the creative power of his revelation. So let's move to paragraph 29. So this is now talking about this Surah, Suratul Haykal. All the statements in paragraph 29 are cited from this incredible tablet, the Suratul Haykal, the Surah of the Temple. And as mentioned, it was one of the most challenging tablets of Baha'u'lláh, revealed during his exile in Adrianople. And I know we don't have Dr. Bayat on this call, and I'll maybe ask him next week to come in on this one. He's actually written a whole book on this tablet. So he's an incredible tablet. And on his arrival, talking about Baha'u'lláh, on his arrival in Akka, Baha'u'lláh ordered this tablet in conjunction with the tablet to the kings to be recast in the form of a pentacle. So this is a pentacle in the, right here. And in conjunction with the tablet to the kings, symbolizing the human temple. So it symbolizes human temple. That looks like the head, the arms, the legs, symbolizes the human temple. The tablets were organized in the following order: the Suratul Haykal, the tablet to Pope Pius IX, tablet to Napoleon III, tablet to Tsar Alexander II, the tablet to Queen Victoria, and the tablet to Nasruddin Shah. So each one of these tablets would be on each of the pentacle. In the Suratul Haykal, His Holiness Baha'u'lláh addresses the temple, the Haykal, and unveils his glory and majesty. And in response to question, he was asked, Baha'u'lláh states that the Haykal mentioned in this tablet is his own person, and the voice addressing the Haykal is his voice. And this is capital V, voice, not stuff that comes out of here. It's stuff that comes from his inner essence, meaning the most great spirit is talking. So it's the most great spirit is talking to Mirza Hussein Ali. Is talking to the individual, you see? So it's really Baha'u'lláh, the most great spirit, is talking to the individual, okay? And this is the conversation that is going on. The Surat al-Haykal is this incredible conversation in that you see in this tablet. In one of his tablets addressing the Christians, Baha'u'lláh identified the temple referred to in the Surat al-Haykal with the temple mentioned by the prophet Zechariah in the Old Testament. And we see that reference in God Passes By. So the temple is also mentioned in the Old Testament there. And so this is a really old edition, and I just thought it would be interesting that these are the very early translations of the Surat al-Haykal. And this was translated by Anton Haddad. If you remember who Anton Haddad is from when we were studying the Advent of Divine Justice, he was one of the first 2 Baha'is that traveled to America. So there was Anton Haddad and Ibrahim Khairallah. So there were 2 of these early Baha'is that traveled to America in, I think it was 1899, around and so what happened was Anton Haddad left, but Ibrahim Khairallah stayed and continued to carry on working, and then eventually he started teaching the faith. So this is Anton Haddad's translation, and it's Baha'i Supply and Publishing Board of Chicago, Hollister Brothers, Chicago 1900. Riaz John, you have a hand, please.
Thank you again. This Anton Haddad, where was he from?
It's a good question. I think off the top of my head, I think it's Lebanon. I think it was Lebanon. But I will double check that, Riaz John. Off the top of my head, I'm thinking Lebanon, but I could be mistaken.
Thank you much. So he himself was a Baha'i, a Baha'i believer.
He was a believer, but I've seen 2 different places. One that said at the end of his life, he defected and went and became a Christian. And I've seen another place that said he stayed in the faith. So I honestly don't know his level of what happened to him at the end. And truly, only he knows what happens to any of us, how faithful we are at the end anyway. So, but according to one place, he says that when he went back to his country, I think it was Lebanon or Syria or one of those, I can't remember the exact country, but I think it was Lebanon. When he went back there, that source said that he went with Christian missionaries and he became a Christian, and that's what happened to him. Another source says he was a Baha'i, whatever, but he wasn't very active, and that was the end of him, whatever. So,
but it seems he was a key figure in the birth of the American Baha'i community.
That's correct. In the sense of that he was, him and Ibrahim Khairallah were the 2 first ones that came to America in that sense.
And Ibrahim Khairallah, was he also from that area, Palestine or Lebanon, maybe?
That's correct.
Oh, he studied medicine at Beirut University.
That's correct. Khairallah, I think, was from Egypt. Ibrahim Khairallah, because his teacher, Tehrani was from Egypt, and so he was his greatest teacher, and taught him the faith. And so they were the first two that
So, in addition to what you are saying, Ehsan,
please.
so Ibrahim Karla and Anton Haddad, they are the first person to bring the faith to America?
Yes, they were the first two Baha'is to enter into America. That's correct.
Okay.
But a mention of the faith was first made at the International World Congress
That's correct.
Exposition, the Chicago Exposition in 1893.
That's correct. By Reverend Jessup. That's correct.
That was the first mention of the faith in America.
That's absolutely correct.
Oh, that means they are before Haddad, Anton Haddad.
Yes, but this is Reverend Jessup was not a Baha'i, and he actually later on wrote a very per se damning book, an attack on the faith, and so he was but in his first presentation of the faith in 1893, he was quoting the words of the great words of the great the words escape me. It's the encounter with this great Englishman with Baha'u'lláh.
Edward Brown.
Edward Granville Brown, exactly. Edward Granville Brown, when he encountered Baha'u'lláh, and it says that there will be no more wars and all of that. And so it was a beautiful
that's what he mentioned at the
exactly in 1893.
Really?
Yeah. I actually have all of the exact. I'll send it to you, Rios. I'll send it to the class. I actually have the entire statement, and I have the actual clipping, the newspaper clipping after the day, so of the exact statement that Reverend Jessup gave at that place in that conference. So yeah, I have all of that, and because when I was preparing for there's in the World Order of Baha'u'lláh, in the there's a letter called let me pull it up, America and the Most Great Peace. Okay, in America and the Most Great Peace, this is a relatively short letter. Okay, and in America and the Most Great Peace, this was written April 21st, 1933. Okay, so Rezvan 1933. So this letter was written 40 years after the first announcement of Reverend Jessup. Okay, so 1893, 1933. So the beloved guardian writes this letter, America and the Most Great Peace, and he puts 4 different decades. Okay, and he outlines the history of the American Baha'i community of that first 40 years in 4 distinct decades. And maybe we could have a short American the Most Great Peace session, and I will take you through that, because it's very, very interesting of the history of the early American Baha'i community, and also all these questions that you have. But maybe we'll do that coming up. But either way, let's move on, Real Sean. Any other questions?
Well, Darla, our friend Darla, who is present, she put something in chat about Haddad.
Excellent. Yep. Yes, Lebanese. I was right. And Was the first Baha'i in America emigrating to the United States, 1892, right? Yeah. Thank you so much.
Oh, what? That's after the days of Baha'u'lláh.
That's right, right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So what is the number 9 here in Surah Al-Hikr? Is that the number 9 tablet, or is there any other meaning?
I don't know. 9 is symbolism to the faith, to Baha'i.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. So, but okay.
That was just in the book cover for this edition. Okay.
Okay. All right.
Okay, so moving on, dear friends. So Zechariah was one of the prophets of Jerusalem who lived about 2,500 years ago. And he made a series of prophecies during the period of Persian rule, when the exiled Jews had lost their national sovereignty and their temple for the first time. And in his prophecies, as recorded in the Torah, Zechariah anticipates that the Messiah on his return will build a final temple in Jerusalem and restore the glory of Israel. And speak unto him, saying, thus speaketh the Lord of hosts, saying, behold the man whose name is what? The branch. And he shall grow up out of his place, and he shall build the temple of the Lord. Even he shall build the temple of the Lord, and he shall bear the glory, and shall sit and rule upon his throne, and he shall be a priest upon his throne, and the counsel of peace shall be between them both. So his name is the branch, Qusn, meaning this is the branch. Abdul Baha is the branch, the most great branch, right? And he shall grow up out of his place, and he shall build the temple of the Lord. Temple of the Lord is the New World Order, right? The covenant. And he shall build the temple of the Lord, and he shall bear the glory. He shall bear the glory, Baha. So he shall bear the glory. He shall have the name of glory, and he shall sit and rule upon his throne. And the throne, he was the center of the covenant, and he shall be a priest upon his throne, and the counsel of peace shall be between them both. So this is a prophecy of Zechariah, talking about the building of the final temple in Jerusalem. And what is that final temple? It's the covenant. And the one that is the one to bring about this temple is the branch, Abdul Baha. Baha'u'lláh added as a conclusion what the beloved guardian Shaykh Effendi has described as words which reveal the importance he attached to those messages and indicate their direct association with the prophecies of the Old Testament. Thus have we built the temple with the hands of power and might. Could ye but know it. This is the temple promised unto you in the book. Draw ye nigh unto it. This is what? This is that which profiteth you. Could ye but comprehend it? Be fair, O peoples of the earth, which is preferable this, or a temple which is built of clay. Set your faces towards it. Thus have ye been commanded by God, the help in peril, the self-subsisting. This is a very important topic that we're talking about, the temple, because all manifestations of God, when they came, they were challenged, okay? They were challenged, and they were said, you know, we have been waiting for the Messiah. For example, Christ, when he was challenged, they were like, you were supposed to come with an army. You were supposed to come on the throne and have a kingdom and a palace. You're just a carpenter, you know? And Christ responds, but I built the temple. I am the temple. But did they understand him? I don't think so, right? And so this is the temple he is talking about. Thus have we built the temple with the hands of power and might. What temple are we talking about? It's the temple of the covenant. This is the eternal temple. It's not, and then he says, Baha'u'lláh here again saying, be fair, O peoples. Which do you prefer? This eternal temple, this temple of the covenant, or what? A temple of clay, which is built of clay. He says, set your faces towards it, this temple. Thus have ye been commanded by God, the help in peril, the self-subsisting. So in paragraph 28, let me make sure it's paragraph, no, this is paragraph 29. I don't know, my chubby fingers wrote 28. Sorry about that. Paragraph 29, he's citing 5 statements from the Surat al-Haykal. The themes of these statements are, so this is paragraph 29. Incarnation of the names and attributes of God in Baha'u'lláh, generation of the Holy Spirit through a single letter revealed by Baha'u'lláh, and then another theme is the unrevealed knowledge enshrined in the wisdom of Baha'u'lláh. Remember, he says, if I cannot reveal all my knowledge. Remember, he says, if I reveal all my knowledge, everyone would suddenly accept. Then there was in paragraph 29, he says, God will raise a new race of men. Now, just because we studied Advent of Divine Justice, I'm going to quote Advent of Divine Justice. In Advent of Divine Justice, the beloved guardian Shoghi Effendi mentions new race of men 3 times. It is actually a very common theme throughout the writings. So I'm going to mention all those times coming up. So God will raise a new race of men. And Baha'u'lláh would draw forth the hands of ascendancy and might to win victory for his cause. This is another big theme in all the writings, that if you open your mouth, he will send his army after army after army to win victories for his cause. You are not alone. Okay, so let us now continue. Let's see how far we can get. We've got about 12 minutes left. I stay punctual. In paragraph 28, Baha'u'lláh identifies himself with God. Okay, and in paragraph, not that he is God. Remember, that's very important, but he's identifying himself with God in the sense he is a manifestation of God. In paragraph 37 of the Dispensation of Baha'u'lláh, Shoghi Effendi clarifies the meaning of this statement. Okay, so we're jumping ahead. Paragraph 37, he is clarifying paragraph 28. This is what he says. The divinity attributed to so great a being and the complete incarnation of the names and attributes of God in so exalted a person should under no circumstances be misconceived or misinterpreted. The human temple that has been made the vehicle of so overpowering a revelation must, if we be faithful to the tenets of our faith, ever remain entirely distinguished from that innermost spirit of faiths and eternal essence of essences, that invisible yet rational God, who, however much we extol the divinity of his manifestations on earth, can in no wise incarnate his infinite, his unknowable, his incorruptible and all-embracing reality in the concrete, limited frame of a mortal being. So there's no way to incarnate God. It's not possible. This is what that is saying. It's impossible. Cannot do it. God is God. Essences of essences. The divinity referred to by Baha'u'lláh represents only the incarnation of names and attributes of God in the temple of the manifestation of God, and not its reality. The reality of God is infinite and cannot manifest itself in a mortal body. These are hard concepts, okay? These are to understand, but I just want you to understand that the essence, the absolute essence of God, the reality of God, cannot be encapsulated in a mortal creature. Not possible. but a name, one of the incarnation of a name and an attribute of God, that is what a manifestation of God is. Okay? That is from the beloved guardian. Now, getting to the theme of new race of men that is mentioned in paragraph 29. Okay? In paragraph 29, I don't know why I put 28 in some of these slides. I don't know. Baha'u'llah gives an assurance that God will create a new race of men through his revelation. And in another statement cited by the beloved guardian in the Advent of Divine Justice, Baha'u'llah sheds more light on this promise. So this is paragraph 28, okay? So if you're following along, paragraph 28 of Advent of Divine Justice, he says, a race of men incomparable in character shall be raised up with the feet of detachment, will tread under all who are in heaven and on earth, and will cast the sleeve of holiness over all that have been created from water and clay. So this theme of a new race of men being raised up is mentioned 3 times in Advent. So it comes up paragraph 28 in Advent to Divine Justice. It comes up again, paragraph 48 in Advent to Divine Justice. And then it comes up again in paragraph 115 in Advent to Divine Justice. So 3 times this same similar theme of Baha'u'llah with his own hands, raising up his own spiritual army, his new race of men. Okay? And this is from the Supreme Body, the Universal House of Justice. And according to the Universal House of Justice, the nature of this new race of men and its distinguishing characteristics are the theme we must pursue in our efforts to deepen in the cause. What is Baha'u'llah's purpose for the human race? For what ends did he submit to the appalling cruelties and indignities heaped upon him? What does he mean by a new race of men? What are the profound changes which he will bring about? The answers are to be found in the sacred writings of our faith and in the interpretation by Abdul Baha and our beloved guardian. Let the friends immerse themselves in this ocean. Let them organize regular study classes for its constant consideration. And as reinforcement to their effort, let them remember conscientiously the requirements of daily prayer and reading of the Word of God enjoined upon all Baha'is by Baha'u'llah. So this is from the Supreme Body, that this is a theme that we need to study upon. What does it mean to be a new race of men? Because we're called upon to be that. So what is Baha'u'llah's purpose for this human race? I think we just have a few more slides and then we'll close. Actually, we're doing pretty good. So furthermore, the beloved guardian warns, this is very important. The beloved guardian is now warning the Baha'i community that the supreme and distinguishing function of his revelation, which is none other than calling into being of a new race of men, will remain wholly unrecognized and completely obscured unless what? Unless a sharp distinction between that community and that people be made and resolutely and fearlessly upheld. So you got to be different. You got to be different. A new race of men. So you got to be completely different. And I just wanted to share this personal anecdote. When I was creating that presentation on Advent of Divine Justice, the one word that the research department highlighted when I sent the entire presentation to them, there's only one per se edit in those 24 PowerPoints that it took almost a couple of years for the class to go through. One word. And you know what they highlighted, that one word? Diametrically opposed was the word that they highlighted. And why did they highlight that? Because that is the standard, dear friends, that the research department wanted us to focus on. That the Baha'i community, the American Baha'i community, needs to be diametrically opposed to the degenerate, to the immoral, the laxity of moral character. Whatever the society is going this way, should be going the complete opposite and be a new race of men. That is the standard that Beloved Guardian is calling upon us, okay? And so we should be completely different, a sharp distinction between that community and our Baha'i community. So that's when someone would immediately recognize you. You should literally be like a light. And someone should immediately recognize, hey, there's something different about her. What's different? I'm trying to put my finger on it. Oh yeah, she's incredibly truthful. Oh, there's something just so different about her. It's not that she changed her hair today. No, there's something more to it. What is it? She is just so kind. She's just so loving. She's just pouring of her service for everything. And everything that then you start putting them together and you say, this person is just so different. And then you say, oh my gosh. And then you approach that person and say, hey, I'm trying to figure out why you're so different. And then you can easily say, because you don't always open your mouth first and say, I'm a Baha'i, I'm a Baha'i, I'm a Baha'i. Remember, let deeds and words be your adorning. Let deeds and actions be your adorning, right? It should be your actions prove you're a Baha'i. So first, do it, prove it, right? Your deeds and actions should prove you're a Baha'i, and then everyone would recognize you. So that's the reality. So then everyone will be like, wow, there's something different. What is different about you? Oh, I am a Baha'i. Have you heard of the Baha'i faith? Have you heard of the Baha'i faith? And then they'll be like, no, maybe I haven't heard of it, but maybe, there's something different about you and I would love to hear what that is. And then you share from your heart. And obviously, hopefully you've been, brought something in here because first and foremost, teach yourself, right? So then you share it. But your life, your purpose should be to teach the faith, should be your dominating passion. Okay, let me see, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, 4 more slides. Okay, so here we go. Like the animating energies of the spring season, which are let loose in abundance and penetrate the core of all living things, the creator word of the manifestation of God, it is revolutionizing human society. And by its resistless force, it's breaking down the man-made barriers of opposition and creating this new race of men, as well as a new civilization. This is from Adib Tarzadeh. Awesome quote. This is from Revelation of Baha'u'lláh, Volume 3, page 44. He's talking about these energies that are being released through in the spring season. And these energies are bringing about the efflorescence of these new race of men. So think about it. Think about this divine sprinklings that are being poured into the world, brought about by the clouds, this incredibly beautiful cloud that we call Baha'u'lláh, that is just pouring these divine sprinklings. And you and I might be, are the different seedlings, okay, that are just happen to have recognized Baha'u'lláh. And it is our job to turn our heads and soak in that divine sprinklings as much as we can. and then our goal is to grow and then start pouring forth our seeds, as they say. Let the whole world hear the message of Baha'u'lláh. But we first have to grow, right? Absorb the grace and grow and let forth the seedlings so everyone hears and the message is poured out. But this animating energies is being poured out to the world. And this is the divine springtime. The study of the writings clearly indicates that the purpose underlying the revelation of Baha'u'lláh. So the entire purpose, this is from Adib Tarzadeh, the entire purpose of the entire revelation of Baha'u'lláh is what? Is to create a new race of man whose thoughts, whose deeds will reflect and manifest in this world the most lofty attributes and divine virtues. This is Adib Tarzadeh. He's in his Revelation of Baha'u'lláh, Volume 2. He's saying the entire purpose of the revelation of Baha'u'lláh is to bring about this new race of men. And yep, this is our last slide. And then we can close. And so this is from the Supreme Body, Universal House of Justice, in a letter to the Persian Baha'i community. This is what they write. It says, in our association and conversation with others, in our transactions, performance of duties, our aims, and in major and minor undertakings, we should so appear as to proclaim and prove to all that nothing other than the unifying power of Baha'u'llah's spirit can transform the hearts of people and make of them a new race of men. So what brings about this new race of men is through our conversation, through our deeds, through our behaviors, through our life, and then through the unifying power of Baha'u'llah's spirit. This will transform the hearts of all. But first we have to prove to a cynical as well as humanity that is, very skeptical of it's a skeptical and critical age, of which we live in, that we actually practice what we preach. This is the reality. Do we practice what we preach? Are we true to what we say? And if that is the case, then the humanity will see that when we are talking about the light, we are the light. You see what I'm saying? So we're not, because humanity is now very critical and very skeptical of anything. And rightfully so, rightfully so. And so if we say that this is the per se the cure, the panacea for this age, we have to internalize it. So there we are, dear friends, paragraphs 28 through 29 of Dispensation of Baha'u'lláh. Excellent. Any questions before we have our closing prayer? We just hit 8:33 on my clock, so keeping it sharp. Any thoughts, any prayers, not any prayers, any questions at this time?
I want to comment if you want something, because what I observed from what you read and then, from our fasting and everything, the fasting is, only for the material thing, but the spiritual fasting is still keep going on. So the Baha'is, as you mentioned, the characters and behaviors and conduct and all virtues, to be sure that we'll be a really good Baha'i to teach and then to be distinguished from other people, we have to have all these things in our hearts and then to show it in action. But it's very challenging, because the way I see humanity now these days, humanity's characters and behaviors is changing just like a weather forecast. It's very hard to tell and then do this kind of stuff or for teaching and everything. It is really tough. And that's to be our challenge throughout our life. We need to develop and then struggle every day-to-day conversations and teachings and prayers and meditations and whatever it is. And the second thing that I want to say is, because from my observation point of view, Baha'u'lláh is the most separate manifestation of God from what I see. 40 years in prison compared to the past manifestation of God, he is the most suffered one and then exiled in the bastinado. So correct me if I am wrong, but this is what I observe.
Thank you very much for your comments, dear Tesfai. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Any other comments before we have our closing prayer? I think we're good. Thank you so much. And our closing prayer was with Miss Luann, I believe. Is that correct, Miss Luann?
Yes, yes. Thank
Okay,
you.
excellent. Thank you, every one of you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Make firm our steps, O Lord, in thy path, and strengthen thou our hearts in thine obedience. Turn our faces towards the beauty of thy oneness, and gladden our bosoms with the signs of thy divine unity. Adorn our bodies with the robe of thy bounty, and remove from our eyes the veils of sinfulness. And give us the chalice of thy grace, that the essence of all beings may sing thy praise before the vision of thy grandeur. Reveal then thyself, O Lord, by thy merciful utterance and the mystery of thy divine being, that the holy ecstasy of prayer may fill our souls, and a prayer that shall rise above words and letters and transcend the murmur of syllables and sounds, that all things may be merged into nothingness before the revelation of thy splendor. Lord, these are servants that have remained fast and firm in thy covenant and thy testament, that have held fast unto the cord of constancy in thy cause and clung to the hem of the robe of thy grandeur. Assist them, O Lord, with thy grace. Confirm with thy power and strengthen their loins in obedience to thee. Thou art the pardoner, the gracious.
Thank you so much, every one of you. Thank you, Miss Luann, for the beautiful prayer.
You're welcome.
Have a
Yeah.
wonderful, wonderful night, you guys. Lots of love.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you much.